We're here with Acepcion. He just got top 8 at UDS Sacramento this past weekend. And he was playing a very interesting deck, not one that is conventional to most people. It would be considered mostly rogue. It was Magical Musketeers. Congrats again with your top. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this deck have much of a premier top. And first question, what made you decide to play this deck over decks such as like Trickster, Spirals, and Magicians?
So I feel like Magical Musketeer, there's like three answers to that, I guess. It's the deck I was most comfortable with. So I feel like a lot of people try to play like the best deck or whatever, but whenever I come into a tournament, I always try to play the best deck for me. Like I have to understand how dedicated I am, and I felt like Magical Musketeer was what I put the most hours in, so it would be the deck I'll misplay with the least, and that's why I chose that. Also, I feel like it was really good against decks that are prepared to stop the FTK, because if they have main deck cherries, main deck effect failure, stuff like that, my deck really punishes it. Also, my deck has like a free matchup against Trickstar and True Draco, both decks that are, aiming towards to beat Magician. And yeah, I just assumed it would be the best deck for me to play, and that's why I played it.
Okay, it seems like really interesting. Very nice deck. Doesn't lose to evenly matched at all. Doesn't lose to any hand trap at all, except probably Ogre can be it can be a very complicated problem. Plays around Joel, Ash, Veiler, because you can go straight to battle phase. Any of that sort punishes people playing cherries, as you said. It's a very nice deck in terms of versatility and stuff, in a very like, I wouldn't say slower form, but more of an open format. It's like, it can be
I could play, as long as I could play every game, I was gonna win, because I could like outplay my opponent. Also, my deck is like very good at being fair and grindy. But like the best part about my deck is a lot of people had no idea how to play versus it. Games 2 and 3, people sided evenly match against me, thinking it was broken or something like that. Or like they would side like fear mode because they were afraid of my Ties of the Brethren. And I swear to God, that really happened.
Did he ties and got raw sphere moded on?
No. Like, he showed me a sphere mode at the end of the game. I was like, oh my God, thank goodness I didn't open up ties. And just like that. Or just like people like, in my feature match, I had a guy side that one card, Unending Nightmare, against me. Or like, they were just like, they did not know what was going on against my deck. And that was like the biggest positive. When people didn't know what could happen, already won the match. So that's why it was so good.
That's fair. A lot of people don't know this, but like Magical Last Stand is like also a different out, like another out to evenly matched. So like, let's say for instance you're siding into a lot of your floodgates, like a Rivalry or Iron Wall. Well, Iron Wall not per se, because I already stopped deck evenly, but yeah, like Rivalry, so you get what I'm saying. You can still use Last Stand to stop those power plays, but mainly I guess you'd be using against cards like Board Wipes or Desires or something like that, right?
Yeah, like that's the reason why I think Musket is so good. Like all the cards do like really good stuff. The format, like just Last Stand is really good. It kills monsters because it negates pendulum scales, or it can just like push through your thing. Like I stop so many strikes. All the cards are like really good in tandem with each other. Like when all three are used in a turn, it's game against every deck pretty much.
Okay, so yeah, the deck just has one weakness per se, in my opinion. Well, aside from just opening only muskets, spells, and traps, it's also just like if you don't have a musket card, like your cards can't play. So like, yeah, the weakest hand trap against is Ogre. So out of all the hand traps in the format, I only saw that you only played 6, which is Ghost Ogre and Ghost Ash. Why didn't you play any others like a Droll, Effect Veiler, or even, let's say for instance, main Ghost Reaper?
So I felt like, so when you play it, you have to kind of look at the format a little differently, because it plays, not as close as a game of Yu-Gi-Oh as the other decks. So cards like Effect Failure and Droll, those are kind of like, and Cherries even, are kind of like stun, like barrier type-esque traps, where sometimes you don't get a +1, sometimes it's just a break even, but it gives you the tempo where you get to play the next turn. and your opponent just stops. However, in Musket, that's not really the game plan. The game plan is to like literally 1-for-1 1,000 times. And cards like Droll, Ghost Ogre, Veiler, they don't 1-for-1. But cards like Ash and Ghost Ogre, I think it's a Ghost Ogre twice.
Yeah, I think you meant. I mean, you get Ghost Reaper. I got what you meant.
Yeah. But then cards like Ash and Ghost Ogre, they trade 1-for-1,
Correct.
sometimes even 2-for-1. And I feel like that goes more with the game plan of Magical Musketeer, because the stun type hand traps don't actually do anything if I can't kill my opponent. But cards like Ghost Ogre, Ash, it will at least trade and make it easier to like 1-for-1 and grind them down to like infinity.
Very fair points. I agree. All right, so I see you played 3 Caspers and 3 Kid Braves. Obviously, this was like one of the best ones to open, but only 2 Docks. And considering your deck plays like, let's say, 3 Desires and 3 Ties, and you're relying on that third level 3 target, and also Docks is not just a bad card to have since he gets you back your Desperados for a later game. Why do you only opt to play 2 Docks?
Opt to play 2 Dock?
Yeah.
Well, so I was playing 3 Dock for a long time. But the biggest problem is, like, I want my turn 1 to be consistently good, and the best turn 1s are like Starfire with like an activator and another 2 activators, or Caspar and 1 activator, or Kid Brave and 1 activator. And Dock doesn't fit with the whole drawing nuts. Like Dock, you have to use up a spell trap, and then once you use another one, and that's when it gets value. So it's a lot better coming into the second to third turn, but it's generally needed. Like, it's not a 1 of, it's definitely a 2 of, or even a 3 of, because that is your end goal, is to set up like a Dock lock where it's like Dock and Caspar, and then you get to activate 3 cards every turn. Yeah. And then you basically never lose advantage like that, but your opponent loses 3 cards every single time.
Because now, like, let's say you had a problem with steady hands, Dock recycles your steady hands, gets it out another bigger problem, and then your Casper can add either Cross Stomp, Last Stand, or Desperado. Okay, I like your idea behind that. So, like, your deck seems very like it was aiming for consistency with the Duality and Ties of Brethren. But were those cards, since they conflict with each other, was that ever an issue for you?
I think they don't conflict, right? Well, they obviously do conflict when you draw both.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, right? So, Ties is as close to as an auto win as you can in this deck. So you always want to max it out. Like, it's never going to be horrible you drawing Ties. And if you draw Ties and Duality, like, Ties is already should win you the game. So drawing the Duality is like ineligible. Like, it didn't matter. It could be any other. I mean, drawing the Duality, it didn't matter. It could be any card in your deck, but you're still going to win because you resolved Ties. Okay. And the biggest issue I've had with other Magical Musket decks is the fact that they play stuff like Double Summon or Tune Table of Contents. Like, blank cards you could just activate, but all those cards are only good with Caspar, Starfire, and sometimes Kid Brave, but probably not Kid Brave, because like you'd have to discard a Magical Musket card and then hope to draw more cards. Okay. So I wanted to play cards that I could play, and it's always going to be a plus. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if I Duality, add a card, discard Kid Brave, like, I didn't lose anything. I still search, I still filter on my deck. If I activate it with Dock or activate it with Caspar, I still get a +1. I want as many pluses as I can because the deck is a very grindy deck, and I kind of don't want to like activate Double Summon just so I can search off Caspar. Like, that doesn't ever seem good. Correct. And then the deck is all about top decking, where it's like you slowly win because you're like every card you draw is like worth 2 cards. So that makes sense, where if I activate Duality and let's say I top deck it when I have a Caspar, that Duality turned into a free card, you know, because it gets a Caspar effect. So basically it's like every turn I'm drawing an extra card. And stuff like Tune Table, when it's only good when you're already winning, when you already have Caspar, but a card like Duality will be good with or without Caspar. But with Caspar, it's actually just the stone. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Because the Duality can also found you a starter card, like one of your muskets, to trigger all your spell and traps, whereas your Toontables is only just reliant just to thin your deck, but doesn't actually get your engine continuously going or other cards.
Yeah,
I got
and
you.
that's where I feel like my approach has been very different from other Magical Musket players, where I'm more so about consistency than like trying to pop off like with Toontables, with double summon something 50 yards. Like I'm fine just summoning Caspar game one. That's like the nuts. Like I can beat everybody if I just normal summon a Caspar.
Because you have like 2 forms of disruption if you have another Magical Musket card too.
And then I have hand traps, or I have like a Solemn Scolding and stuff like that. So, like I feel like those cards, like the Triple Duality, Triple Desires, and the Upstart, are definitely where I stray away from conventional lists, because I'm just trying to consistently get a Musketeer on field and have some layers of disruption.
I personally really like the addition of Scolding, since it also like triggers like your Magical Muskets, since they also trigger in a new chain. Like I really like that, and it also deals with like somewhat if your True Draco problem, because you also can like stop Masterpiece summons and stuff like that. So I also like really like that.
Yeah, which card again were you
Solemn Scolding.
Oh yeah, Solemn Scolding was insane for me because I played against a lot of True Draco, and if you just stop the normal summon, like you're in it. You're probably gonna win. It's enough tempo for you. Also, Scolding was like the most generic card I could play because I wanted to play Strikes. I wanted to play Barrier, but those cards didn't do everything I wanted. And even though Scolding is a big investment, I think it was like the best for what it did. It stopped normal summons, it stopped monster effects, and it stopped spell traps. So also like it's very like, how you say, I don't feel the repercussions because like I'm playing hand trapped, so I don't actually set more than one. And in my side, everything I set is either a barrier, which I would flip up like Shotgun a lot of the time, or it would be a floodgate like Imperial Iron Wall or Rivalry, which I flip up immediately.
It's a good point. Good point. I actually really liked it. So the last question I have for your main deck is why only one Fiendish Deal, since the deck has such a like inherent flaw and weakness to Ghost Ogre? Since this is like predominantly your out to Ghost Ogre. Like, I get that you have Last Stand to deal with Solemn Strike and stuff, but why only one Fiendish Deal?
So there's that answer is kind of twofold. So one is maybe they just don't play Ogre, and that's like a real thing. That's like, even though that sounds ludicrous,
yeah,
like there are Magician decks that don't play Ogre. There are the True Draco decks that don't play Ogre, and then also it's like they have to draw it. So I felt like the hand traps were against me were more of a liability for them than for me. Like obviously it sucks if they have it, but then the beauty of it is if they just Ghost Ogre Caspar, I still break even, where they neg one, and then I can still go. And if they're playing like a deck like Magician where they have to draw multiple good cards, if they Ghost Ogre me, they're playing on 5 cards, and then I still have the same amount, and then if I have a hand trap or a Scolding, then I'll be able to live for the turn. That was like my logic, where I felt like no deck had an insane like thing I had to stop, So I felt like just, and then, like the thing with Fiendish Deal is Fiendish Deal sucks if they don't have Ghost Ogre or they don't have Dark Hole. Like it's like the worst card. So I was trying to be like as proactive as possible, but that card I searched constantly. That was actually one of my go-to cards to search because it made a lot of cards dead.
That's fair. I also see like why you say it's like a kind of a really bad card to have in general overall, since it's a continuous trap card. It locks the zone of like your musket to not being able to trigger them. That's fair.
Yeah, sometimes you activate it and try to shotgun it. Like I did that in my feature match. Like I was like, okay, well the only way I lose is if he has like multiple things. So I activated immediately behind Doc just to add something because I knew I was gonna win that turn. But yeah, like Fiendish Deal was like it's really good. When it's really good, it's crazy. Like when they have Ogre, Dark Hole, Regeki, or even against like True Draco, it's crazy. But against certain matchups, even against like Magician, if they don't have Ghost Ogre, it's practically just a do nothing. And I was trying to be as proactive as possible.
That's fair. All right. Well, I think we've covered your main deck pretty extensively, and I do agree with a lot of your choices, and I actually really like it, and I'm glad it brought you success. I'm just gonna go over your side deck like very briefly. 12 of the cards I think are pretty like understandable, like 3 Ghost Reaper, 3 Barrier, 3 Evelyn, 3 Iron Wall. The only questions I have into question are the one Dancing Needle. Was that mainly for like decks like ABC and Light Swarm because they're very graveyard reliant and it's a searchable out to them?
Yeah. So I've noticed that ABC is sort of a hard matchup game one because I don't main deck Dancing Needle.
Okay.
And like your deck doesn't trade well with Buster. Like you can negate its effect, or like the best case scenario is they summon Buster into Scolding, or they summon Buster and I go Desperado Pop on their turn, which stops them from tagging out.
Correct.
But rarely does that actually happen. So against Buster deck, like I needed a card that was generically good against it, and that's the Dancing Needle, and also that's the Iron Walls.
Okay.
Yeah, and then yeah, against the 60 card decks, like just having that is like so good, because against 60 card decks, usually you don't need 3 Last Stand, and every time you get Last Stand, you're gonna search it.
Yeah.
So I felt like just switching out 1 Last Stand for a Dancing Needle would be able to combat them real nice.
Okay, that's a very fair point, and also like it's good against like dinosaur decks, like where they're very graveyard reliant. You can clear out their dinosaurs and they can't summon Conductor. So I really like that inclusion in your side deck. And also Rivalry. How was that for you this past weekend? Was it a very strong trap card in general?
Wait, which card?
Rivalry of the Warlords.
Oh, Rivalry was definitely a card that when I was done with the event, I was like, why aren't I playing 3? Like, it was crazy. Like, against the matchups I want it for, aka like 60 card decks, or like against Magician, even though it sounds kind of weird because it's a Magician deck.
Oh,
like,
no. Yeah, it's
like,
really good.
It's like a pseudo torrential. So you go like, activate something, they negate, then you activate Rivalry, and then now they have to send everything to the graveyard, and now they don't get a play. Like, they just summon shitty Magicians. And a lot of people are cutting the Magicians down to where they won't be able to make a lot of good monsters. So Rivalry is basically just like the God Floodgate against them, because I couldn't side that one card, Anti-Spell.
Oh yeah,
because I draw a lot. Also, my deck is a grind deck, not a kill deck. So like when I draw a card off Anti-Spell, I'm gonna have to set it, then flip it, because I won't be able to kill my opponent quick enough. Also, like, it makes cross domination really shitty. Like, I search cross domination, then I have to set it, wait a whole turn to activate it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't side Anti-Spell. And I felt like Rivalry was the best going first and going second. So it was good as a pseudo torrential and as like a floodgate.
Okay.
So that's why like I really liked it.
I also like the
also,
fact
you can't get Kaiju.
That's huge. True. That's a very good point. Or raw sphere mode in some cases.
Yeah, raw sphere mode. Yeah.
I also like the fact too that like if they had triggered their Electromite and then they add the Astrograph to hand and then they try to trigger the Astrograph effect, you can then chain the Rivalry to fizzle it.
Against that one deck, against Magician, that's what you wait for actually.
Correct, for the Astro
trigger.
Trigger.
Either wait for the Electrum, so when you flip the Electrum, we'll flip it on Electrum, then they actually can't make anything because there's nothing in the deck that's Psychic.
Yes.
Or you flip it when they link into Zephyr Metaltron, and then they activate the effect to summon the fusion. That's when you flip it. So now they invested so many cards into a Zephyrtron, and they don't even get the fusion. And that board is crazy.
That's really good. Yeah. So it's just depending on like how your hand is to deal with that current board, if you would flip it preemptively or not.
Like, I felt that flipping it immediately kind of sucks. You want to make them invest into a play, and then you punish the play.
That's fair. Okay, I really like that. Could you see yourself like maining the Rivalry in the future?
Well, the main reason why I liked my deck was because it wasn't really an anti-meta. Like, it wasn't like a deck that won because it had unsearchable power cards, but because it, like, Engine was strong on its own. And I think that Rivalry, even though it's a really, really good card against the meta, it wasn't what I wanted because it wasn't well rounded. You get what I mean? It's not good against all the matchups. That's kind of not what I wanted. So I probably wouldn't main it unless I had a hunch that I'd be playing against All Magician.
Exactly.
But if I was playing against All Magician, I probably would be playing a very different deck.
Yeah, yeah, because it's also like it has no functionality at all versus a true Draco, really.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, well that covers your side deck pretty extensively. Very good choices in there. Your extra deck looks very a lot of cherries hate basically, and a lot of good generic rank 3s. There's only 2 cards I just want to cover real quick. It was the Constellar Hiatus and the M7. Like, why did you opt to play the Constellar card?
Well, I watched a deck profile from some guy that played Magical Musketeers, and he said it was super broken. So I copied his extra deck. Well, not his extra deck, but I copied a lot of the cool rank 3s that he played.
So like Grand
I couldn't
Pulse
find one of the DDD cards. There's like a rank 3 DDD.
Oh,
it's really good, and
okay.
I couldn't get it, so I played. I forgot what Cherry's target I played. I think it was like the Toad. But yeah,
I think I found it. Is it the Stone King Darius?
Yeah, Stone King, where it's kind of like a what is it called? A Cataster for monsters.
Yeah,
and that was one of the ones I was playing, but the M7 engine is what I really like, and I summoned it a lot. So basically, there's a point in the game where you need just a big monster to attack with, and that's what the M7 engine gives you, where you just turn 2 muskets into Hyades, and you rarely use Hyades' effect. I've never used it. I was too afraid because of Ghost Ogre, so I just wouldn't use it. And
That's
then I
fair.
would summon M7 and just attack, and it would just be a really big guy. But like the thing is, M7 is like a snowball card. So like, if you don't kill M7, he's either gonna push stuff out of the way, like bounce your monsters, or I'm just gonna get my hand traps back, or I'm gonna get Doc back, or I'm gonna get that kind of stuff.
That's a
so
fair
it was
point.
kind of like this like beautiful late game / like finisher monster. I would always summon like almost every round, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point, because then you can also just grab back the Doc off the M7 if you use Doc to make it too.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you had a valid target. Yeah, that's actually really good. Yeah. Yeah, overall really good deck. Except just one more question, sorry. The Ningirsu, did you ever like really have it come up, or was it just for cherries for like
It was literally just for cherries, because World House is like a deck that I respect a lot, and it was even before I found out it top. I just had like a lot of mad respect for it, so I was like, okay, well, I guess Firewall and Ningirsu is gonna be there. Also with cherries, I wanted a lot of like generic, like if I was gonna play cherries, I wanted a lot of cards and a lot of matchups where if I draw cherries, I'd win. And I feel like if you just cherries Ningirsu, that deck has a pretty tough time winning or getting enough card advantage to keep their plays going.
Why didn't you play Mechaba, or did you just not think it was needed versus
no. That was definitely a conscious choice to not play Mechaba.
Okay.
So like cherries is good against Mechaba, but not really, because it's only good if you draw it in the opening turn, but against Invoked, it's a big grind versus them, and I feel like cherries, I don't want to take the neg one against them, and they're always going to make me go first, usually, because that's what a lot of the Mech Knight Invoke players do. So cherries going first actually just isn't what I wanted.
Okay.
And so I felt like siding 3 Iron Wall was way better against them, because Iron Wall is like an auto win versus them.
And you also have like the dimensional barrier as well.
Barriers and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a very fair point. All right, thank you for the in-depth discussion. Would you like to give any shout-outs?
Shout-outs to my girlfriend who let me actually travel. I love you, Jana Lee. Thank you to Team Jobber, best team. Thanks to Calvin Chow. He was the only person I playtest on Dueling Book all the time, and my friend Calvin, who watched me, was like, yeah, you should just play it if you like it. He's one of the few people that actually believed in muskets before I actually started doing good with it.
Okay.
And then shout outs to Richard Waddle. He helped me. I approached him randomly. Like, I don't think I ever really talked to him as much as I have lately because of Musket. I just randomly messaged him because I saw he played Musketeer, and I was like, yo, teach me your ways. And he helped a lot. And then thank you especially to Paulie Aronson, who playtested with me a lot and made me figure out that I probably should just play Musket because it was the deck I was most comfortable with.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's good. All right, you two. This was a very in-depth deck profile and interview with Jobbers at Acepcion, and hopefully we can see you again on the channel. Thank you again.
Yeah.